Okay, welcome to Game Dev Club. This is today's Blender challenge, and by the end of today, that means in half an hour, I would like you to make a little animated snowman scene with lots of little snowmen that fall from the sky on your big snowman, all swirling round in a vortex. So that is what we are going to attempt to work through. So let's see if we can work out how to do this. We'll start from the default cube, we're going to turn this cube into a snowman. So we'll add a subdivision surface modifier, that's Control and 2. There we go, and you can see the keys on the screen here. And right click and shade smooth. If we go into edit mode with tab, so I'm going to be saying this much faster than I'd expect you to do, so I'm sorry if I leave you behind, but you'll get the video and you can pause and go through at your own pace. I want to duplicate this, so that's Shift and D. And I want it to move directly upwards, not to the side. So I'm pressing Z to lock it to the Z axis, and then S to scale it down, and repeat the process. Shift D, Z, and scale it down. So that's the basis of the snowman. So let's add in a little bit of detail. I'd like some eyes, a nose, and a mouth. So again, we'll Shift D to duplicate, and because we've got this subdivision surface modifier, it actually looks like it's a sphere, even though the mesh is just nice and simple as a cube. So we'll scale it down and then move it. Now, if you want it to appear in the right place, you've got to kind of look from different directions. And at this point, I'd like it to be a different color. So on the Materials tab, we can have the default material to be snow, which is white. But a new material, let's add one. Oops. Add a new one. This one can be coal. Double click to change the name. Here we go. Let's change the color to black and then assign it. It doesn't actually display in black until you change to material mode or rendered mode. Right, now we've got a black coal blob. We can duplicate it. Shift D, press X or Y, it's Y for me, to move it along the Y axis. And then Shift D, move it down, maybe make it smaller for the little lumps of coal along its mouth. Shift D, Shift D, Shift D, there we go. And then Shift D again, I want the nose, so scale it up, GX, move it out. Now at this point, I want to be able to pull out the nose once I've made it carrot coloured. So let's make a new colour, new material, call it carrot. I always get confused about the spelling. I think carrot's got 2 R's. Orange, and remember to assign it. There we go. But when I have face mode selected, I pressed 3 to get face mode up here. I can't click on the face I want to pull it out, which is irritating. So I've got to go in wireframe mode. That's Z and 4 so that I can actually click on it. And then I'll go Z8 and back to what I want. Okay, GX to grab that out, S to pull it down. We've got a little carrot. Nice. We'll just grab some other little blobs and pull them down. So go into wireframe mode so we can see what's going on. There we go. This is a really useful keyboard shortcut. I want to select all the linked vertices. So Control L. And then Shift D, pull that down. Need to push it into its body. And grab it across. So let's pull this out a little bit, scale it up, and Shift D to duplicate. There we go. So that'll do for a snowman. I'm going to quickly add a little hat as a different object. So I'll add a cube, GZ. The more confident you get with box modeling, you can do this really nice and quickly. Add a subdivision surface modifier, right click on it, make it smooth. I'll use one of the materials I've already got because I want a black hat, and in edit mode, this time I'm going to pull this side down, sorry, this face down with E, scale it, pull it with E, and then scale it down and push it up for the inside of the hat. It looks like a policeman's hat at the moment, but if I just extrude it up a bit, it becomes a bit more like a top hat. Now, I want a bit more of a rim rather than a smooth curve, so I'm going to put an extra set of vertices around here. So let's Control R to add a loop cut. When you move your mouse over this edge, you can put that cut around here, and that'll do for a hat. GZ to move it down, R or even R twice to rotate it at a jaunty angle, maybe scale it up a little bit. There we go, that'll do. So that's the first part done. The next part involves the snow falling down from the sky. So not many of you will get to this point, but I'll show you how to do it. Shift A to add a plane. This is going to be the clouds where all of the snow falls down from. So that was Shift A to add a plane, G and Z to move it up, and then S to scale it. I would like some snow to fall down, but I thought it'd be quite fun if the snowman itself falls down. So we're going to use the particle system. That's this one on the right of the screen. We'll add a new particle system. And there's two types of particle systems. You can have hair, which you can brush in Blender and sculpt, but that's not what we want. Or an emitter. An emitter is just something that will throw out stuff, which is like snow. So that's quite nice as it is. But instead of just blobs, I want snow people to fall down. So if we go on the render settings for the particle system, instead of just a path, we can have an object. And if we look at our scene collection, my snowman is called Cube. I probably should have named it. Let's call it Snow Person. There we go. Back to the clouds, back to the particle system, back to render, back to object, and here we go. Which object? I want the Snow Person. So now when we play, loads of tiny little snow people will fall from the sky. It's rather exciting. They're too small. I want them bigger, so let's change the scale up. 0.2. There we go. But they're all facing the same way. Let's randomize that. So let's see. That will be on rotation. Enable rotation. Set the rotation. Well, we can randomize it. So now when they fall, they should all be facing different directions. Notice they kind of all disappear after a little while, because each snow person only lives for 50 frames, and that's no good. So maybe if I let them all last for 100 frames, or even 200 or 250 frames, might be a bit better. And then the final thing, I think the most fun thing, is if we add in a vortex. So Shift A and a force field and a vortex down here. This will affect all of the particle system. And it means that you can have wind that blows in a particular direction, like you can point it in any direction if you want with R for rotate. And it now means all of the snow is swirling around, which is rather exciting. So there we go, that is your challenge. You've got until 1/2 to try and do the best snow scene that you can with... it doesn't have to be snow people that fall down, it can be blobs, it can be icicles, it can be your own 3D snow blob. Let's see what you can do.